Alright, so if you've been watching my videos, you know I keep and breed ball pythons, and not only is it a great hobby and a lot of fun, but I also consider it as an investment, and I'm always looking for the next ball python morph to invest in, and the morph is the color and pattern mutation in ball pythons that is genetically transferred from one snake to another. And let me tell you, there are hundreds of different morphs that we're looking at when we're thinking about getting into ball pythons. And I know a lot of people kind of get into it and go, all right, the market's always really hot for clowns and pies, and they kind of jump in that way and they do some other stuff on the side. But I'm always kind of looking for that hidden gem, the thing that nobody really knows about, the thing that isn't in my local area. And for the last couple of years, that was the bamboo ball python. And take a look at this snake. I actually picked this up mainly because I was going to my local reptile shows and nobody even knew what a bamboo was. There was a few bamboos, but they were mixed with other genes. Nobody really saw the base mutation for a bamboo. Just take a look at how beautiful that snake is. That thing is, this is probably, you know, next to the spider. The problem is the spider kind of has the head wobble that people are against, and this is actually as close as you can get to the spider without any genetic anomalies. This has no problems at all, you know, with any head wobble. And as a matter of fact, the feeding response on a bamboo is probably one of the biggest feeding responses I've ever seen in ball pythons. So not only is it a magnificent color and pattern mutation, but it also feeds a lot better than any ball python I've ever seen. This is, you know, this was really hot on the market the last couple of years. As a matter of fact, I'm producing some bamboo this year, but really what it is, this is a co-dominant mutation. So I can run it through my collection, like if I breed it to a normal, half the babies come out bamboo. So I could produce a lot of bamboos. The first year I bred this to 13 females, 11 of them laid eggs. Let me tell you, I pretty much flooded the market here with bamboo. And it was pretty much just a flash in the pan, and then I'm going to switch pretty much to something else. So really, you don't want to flood the market for too long with one gene. The kind of the key is the supply and demand. And really, I don't want to do that again with the bamboo in my local market. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to really scale down in the bamboo, maybe breed it to 1 or 2 snakes, and move into something else. And I've been thinking about something more long-term than, you know, a co-dominant, kind of a flash in the pan. I kind of did that a little bit with the scaleless head, where I ran it through my collection, had a really good return on investment. But I'm looking for that long-term hidden gem, and I've pretty much narrowed it down to what is known as the puzzle ball python. And I don't know if you've ever seen the puzzle, but you know, I've seen it. It actually came out 15 years ago, and I kind of heard, you know, the backstory. You know, a guy was brand new breeding ball pythons. He bought a spider and a pastel, bred them together, and out pops these snakes that he didn't know what they were, and they actually call them the puzzle. Come to find out, it's a recessive mutation, and if you just kind of look at the puzzle by itself, it's not really that impressive. I'd say the closest thing you can compare the puzzle to is kind of like the clown. And the clown, you know, is one of the staples. Everyone wants to go with clown, mainly because it mixes well with other genes. You know, standalone clown, you know, kind of looks kind of like the bamboo, but it's recessive, so it's harder to produce. But really, the powerful thing about the clown is you mix it with other genes and you get some astonishing results as far as the combinations. And that's pretty much what I've been seeing lately with the puzzle. And I looked on Morph Market, and I kind of want to show you real quick what I'm seeing on Morph Market as far as some of these combinations. Let me tell you, these are really starting to blow me away, all the different combinations. And you look on there, the price is really high still for, you know, a recessive mutation that has been on the market for 15 years. Just to buy a base puzzle with no other genes, you're talking about $2,000 a snake. You know, so we're talking, you know, $4,000 to get a couple puzzles to get into the project. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons that it's kind of held its little niche, kind of the hidden gem, is because a lot of people don't want to throw down a lot of money to have puzzles, to make more puzzles, to kind of look like, you know, the base clown. But once you start mixing it with other genes, I think that's really the power of the puzzle. So what I want to do is I want to give you a quick tour through Morph Market, and I want to show you some of the amazing combos that I've been seeing with the puzzle. All right, so I am here on morphmarket.com, and this is what a puzzle ball python looks like. And this is probably one of the best examples of a puzzle that I've seen. This actually has a stripe going down the middle. So a lot of them don't have that stripe, and this almost kind of looks like a tri-stripe without, you know, the stripe down the back, which I thought was kind of interesting. Some of them look more like kind of a leopard pattern. So actually, if you go to the next tab over here, what I did is I logged in and sorted so I could see the sold and for sale, and I sorted from the least expensive so you can kind of see just the base mutations of a puzzle. So you take a look at this one right here. This one actually looks kind of like a normal ball python. This one over here too, there's not a whole lot of difference. So if you walk up to the table and you saw someone had a puzzle, they're selling it for $2,000, you're like, what in the world? A $2,000 normal? And it almost looks kind of like a normal. And then some of these you can see are a little bit more striped. And let me just scroll down a little bit. Here's one where it mixes in a pastel. And you can see there's a lot of variability. This one over here on the right looks kind of like a leopard. And you can see some of these, for example, this one, look at this spider puzzle. I opened it up on the next page. This is what happens when you mix the spider with the puzzle. It really reduces the pattern. Look at the tail, how it just makes one little stripe right along the back. I thought that was really interesting. So you see it definitely interacts with the spider ball python. And then I kind of moved over to the next page, sorting from the least expensive, moving up in price. And you can see some of these, you know, they're holding their price really well. Puzzles selling for $2,500. These are from 2016 and 2017. Here's one from 2018 that sold a pastel puzzle for $2,650 for a male, which is pretty incredible, holding this price really well. And if you look at the pastel puzzles, there is a huge variability. This is one over here, and if you look at this one, come back to this page, you can see this almost has like a leopard kind of a pattern to it. And the interesting thing is you mix in the pinstripe, and there's not a really big interaction with the pinstripe when you mix it in. So if we move up to the third page, sorting, getting a little more expensive here. We have pastel yellow belly puzzle, pastel puzzles. Let's see. Here is a leopard spider puzzle from 2018 from Justin Kobilka for $3,000. That's, you know, they're still holding their value really well. And let's go back to this page. See increasing in price here. These are for $3,000 from 2017. I kind of like to look at the 2018 prices because these older ones can kind of trick you because you know, unless it's the current year, you can see a price drop. Here's a 2018 super pastel puzzle for $3,150 a male. So let's take a look at this. This is what a super pastel puzzle looks like. That is really far out. It almost starts looking almost kind of like a clown or something. It's, you know, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, there's definitely some potential for the puzzle ball python with just a super pastel. And you start mixing it with some of these other things. And here's a pastel puzzle, het red xanthic. If you kind of move down, this is really interesting. So take a look at these. This is a super pastel puzzle on these that are really washed out. And here's some super pastel puzzles that are really yellow. I thought that was really interesting too. Here's a pastel champagne. Of course, the champagne kind of washes everything out. And if we look over here, kind of going more and more expensive, let's see what we have. We are getting up into the $4,000 range, $4,500 for a fire puzzle female. Take a look at that. It's really starting to move up in price here. And here is a banana Mojave spider puzzle. male that sold for $4,500 in 2018. That would be something. That's a really powerful breeder. You definitely want to get something like that. This one's really wild. A lesser platinum puzzle, pastel inchy puzzle, and I actually expanded some of those over here. Look at this one, a lesser platinum puzzle. That is really wild. You mix lesser and Het Daddy. This is actually lesser, Het Daddy, and puzzle together. So that's pretty wild. This is your puzzle Het Red Exanthic, which is interesting. This is a vibe, which is, it's interesting. It kind of got washed out on this snake. And if you look at what the vibe is, some people, you know, kind of have their own slang. This is actually a lesser pastel and a spider with the puzzle. Here's the one that's the banana fire puzzle. And you can see there's definitely an influence along the side. You get a little bit more striping, not a whole lot of effect. And let's see, this is kind of the end of the most expensive stuff over here. Let's see what else we got. We have a Bumble Bee Puzzle, which is really interesting. It kind of fades it out and changes up the pattern. This is a Mojave Puzzle. Look what the Mojave does with the puzzle. That is really impressive. Here's a really neat one. So people are mixing scaleless heads into the puzzle. So this is a scaleless head pastel puzzle, which is, this one actually sold. Let's see how much it sold for. It'd be interesting to see. This one sold for $6,500. Let's see, in 2018, sure enough, in the beginning of 2018. So that's, you're moving up into some pretty high stuff. This is the Banana Mojave Spider Puzzle. That is really cool how you just get the interesting patterns on it. I'd really like to see something like that as it grows up and matures. Let's see how much something like this sold for, and when it sold, it was $7,500. It sold January of 2019, so not that long ago. You're talking about $7,500 for a snake, which is pretty incredible. You know, you can make some good money, and you have to spend some good money if you're thinking about investing into something like this. I still haven't really invested more than probably $1,600, you know, into any project. So, you know, you're talking multiple thousands. I'm not sure I'm actually there yet. I'm thinking maybe of doing like a puzzle female and then growing it up. And then when it hits breeding size, maybe investing in a more high-end male down the road. This is pretty cool. This is a super vanilla puzzle. The super vanilla on top of the puzzle. I have one more here. And this is just another pastel puzzle. You can see some of them have the striping. Some of them look like kind of a leopard pattern. And some of them, you know, it seems like there's a real big variability in the puzzles, which kind of gives a variability as you start mixing more genes. You know, it's kind of like the bamboo. You have multiple bamboos and they all have slightly different polymorphism within the puzzle or the bamboo, to where you get a slightly different color and pattern based, you know, from snake to snake, even though they have the same genes. So I've actually been looking at some other genes besides the puzzle, and two of them come to mind. One of them is the tri-stripe, and I've been looking at tri-stripe. It's pretty much been around almost as long as the puzzle, and the problem is when you start mixing other stuff with the puzzle, it kind of muddies out and it kind of blurs. You can't quite tell if the tri-stripe is in there, and I haven't seen enough with the tri-stripe to actually invest my money and jump into that project, although I have seen an albino tri-stripe, and let me tell you, that thing is ridiculous. If you haven't seen the albino tri-stripe, I almost got into that project and decided I thought I would wait, you know, so people can kind of prove it out a little bit more and add other genes to the mix. The other one is the sunset. It's a little bit newer to the market, and the sunset's kind of there. I've seen some really impressive combos, but I haven't seen enough to where I see, you know, different genes making a huge drastic effect like I'm seeing here on the puzzle, to where you can produce some really cool stuff. And let me tell you, the puzzle is on my radar, and I can almost guarantee that within the near future I'm going to buy a female visual puzzle, and I'll probably sit on it for a while and grow it up to size, kind of like I'm doing with my clowns. I bought 2 female clowns. I'm breeding one this year, just the very first year. The other one's not big enough, and really I think that's the key to get the females and then sit on them for a few years, bring them up to size, rise. And by that point, what happens is people mix more genes into something like the puzzle about 3 years from now, and the price comes down. And at that point, I can invest in a higher end male with more genes. And I know I'm getting a male where I can invest and put a lot of really cool genes into the offspring. So that is pretty much it. That is the puzzle in a nutshell. And let me tell you, if you haven't considered the puzzle, I would really consider investing in that project. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.